Answered by Ella Wheeler Wilcox. Read for LibriVox.org by Theo Douglas. Seattle, Washington, March 2025. Goodbye. Yes, I am going. Sudden. Well, you are right. But a startling truth came home to me with sudden force last night. What is it? Shall I tell you? Nay, that is why I go. I am running away from the battlefield, turning my back on the foe. Riddles, you think me cruel. Have you not been most kind? Why, when you question me like that, what answer can I find? You fear you fail to amuse me, your husband's friend and guest, whom he bade you entertain and please. Well, you have done your best. Then why am I going? A friend of mine abroad, whose theories I have been acting upon, has proven himself a fraud. You have heard me quote from Plato 1,000 times, no doubt. Well, I have discovered he did not know what he was talking about. You think I am speaking strangely. You cannot understand. Well, let me look down into your eyes, and let me take your hand. I am running away from danger. I am flying before I fall. I am going because with heart and soul I love you. That is all. There, now you are white with anger. I knew it would be so. You should not question a man too close when he tells you he must go. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Betrothal by Ella Wheeler Wilcox. Read for LibriVox.org by Roger Smith. The Betrothal. There was a little pause between the dances, without somewhere a tinkling fountain played. The dusky path was lit by Arden glances, as forth they fared, a lover and a maid. He chose a nook from curious eyes well hidden, all redolent with sweet midsummer charm, and by the great primeval instinct bidden, he drew her in the shelter of his arm. The words that long deep in his heart had trembled found sudden utterance she at first dissembled, refused her lips, and half withdrew her hand, then murmured yes, and yielded, woman fashion, her virgin mouth to young love's kiss of passion. End of recording. This recording is in the public domain.
Bingen on the Rhine by Caroline Elizabeth Norton. Read for LibriVox.org by Michael Early. A soldier of the Legion lay dying in Algiers. There was lack of woman's nursing. There was dearth of woman's tears. But a comrade stood beside him while his life-blood ebbed away, and bent, with pitying glances, to hear what he might say. The dying soldier faltered, and he took that comrade's hand, and he said, "I never more shall see my own, my native land. Take a message and a token to some distant friends of mine, for I was born at Bingen on the Rhine. Tell my brothers and companions when they meet and crowd around to hear my mournful story in the pleasant vineyard ground, that we fought the battle bravely, and when the day was done, full many a corpse lay ghastly pale beneath the setting sun. And midst the dead and dying were some grown old in wars, the death wound on their gallant breasts, the last of many scars. but sung more young, and suddenly beheld life's morn decline, and one had come from Bingen, fair Bingen on the Rhine. Tell my mother that her other sons shall comfort her old age. And I was a truant bird that thought his home a cage. For my father was a soldier, and even as a child, my heart leaped forth to hear him tell of struggles fierce and wild. And when he died and left us to divide his scanty hoard, I let them take whatever they would, but kept my father's sword. And with boyish love I hung it, where the bright light used to shine, on the cottage wall at Bingen, calm Bingen on the Rhine. Tell my sister not to weep for me and sob with drooping head, when the troops are marching home again with glad and gallant tread, but to look upon them proudly with a calm and steadfast eye, for her brother was a soldier too, and not afraid to die. And if a comrade seek her love, I ask her in my name to listen to him kindly, without regret or shame, and to hang the old sword in its place, my father's sword and mine, for the honour of old Bingen, dear Bingen on the Rhine. There's another, not a sister, in the happy days gone by. You'd have known her by the merriment that sparkled in her eye. Too innocent for coquetry, too fond for idle scorning. Oh, friend, I fear the lightest heart makes sometimes heaviest mourning. Tell her the last night of my life, for ere the moon be risen, my body will be out of pain, my soul be out of prison. I dreamed I stood with her and saw the yellow sunlight shine on the vine-clad hills of Bingen, fair Bingen on the Rhine. I saw the blue Rhine sweep along, I heard or seemed to hear the German songs we used to sing in chorus sweet and clear. And down the pleasant river and up the slanting hill, the echoing chorus sounded through the evening calm and still, and her glad blue eyes were on me as we passed with friendly talk down many a path beloved of yore and well-remembered walk, and her little hand lay lightly, confidingly in mine. But we'll meet no more at Bingen, loved Bingen on the Rhine. His voice grew faint and hoarser, his grasp was childish weak, his eyes put on a dying look, he sighed and ceased to speak. His comrade bent to lift him, but the spark of life had fled. The soldier of the Legion in a foreign land was dead. And the soft moon rose up slowly, and calmly she looked down on the red sand of the battlefield with bloody corpses strewn. Yea, calmly on that dreadful scene her pale light seemed to shine, as it shone on distant Bingen, fair Bingen on the Rhine. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Boy's Song by James Hogg, 1770 to 1835. Read for LibriVox.org by Kenneth the Teller. A Boy's Song. Where the pools are bright and deep, where the grey trout lies asleep, up the river and o'er the lea, that's the way for Billy and me. Where the blackbird sings the latest, where the hawthorn blooms the sweetest, where the nestlings chirp and flee, that's the way for Billy and me. Where the moors mow the cleanest, where the hay lies thick and greenest, there to trace the homeward bee, that's the way for Billy and me. where the hazel bank is steepest, where the shadow falls the deepest, where the clustering nuts fall free, that's the way for Billy and me. Why the boys should drive away, little sweet maidens from the play, or love to banter and fight so well, that's the thing I never could tell. But this I know, I love to play, through the meadow, among the hay, up the water and o'er the lea, that's the way for Billy and me. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Cotter's Saturday Night by Robert Burns. Read for LibriVox.org by Kenneth the Teller. The Cotter's Saturday Night, inscribed to R. Aitken, Esquire of Ayr. Let not ambition mock their useful toil, their homely joys, and destiny obscure, nor grandeur hear with a disdainful smile the short and simple annals of the poor. Gray. My loved, my honoured, much respected friend, no mercenary bard his homage pays, with honest pride I scorn each selfish end, my dearest meed, a friend's esteem and praise. To you I sing in simple Scottish lays, the lowly train in life's sequestered scene, the native feelings strong, the guileless ways. What Aitken in a cottage would have been, ah, though his worth unknown, far happier there I ween. November chill blows loud wi' angry sough, the shortening winter day is near a close, the miry beasts retreating frae the plough, the blackening trains across to their repose. The toil-worn Cotter frae his labour goes, this night his weekly moil is at an end, collects his spades, his mattocks, and his hoes, hoping the morn in ease and rest to spend, and weary o'er the moor his course does hameward bend. At length his lonely cot appears in view, beneath the shelter on aged tree, the expectant wee things toddling stacker through, to meet their dad with flichtering noise and glee. His wee bit ingle blinking bonnily, his clean hearth stain, his thrifty wifey's smile, the lisping infant prattling on his knee, does all his weary ceuch and care beguile, and makes him quite forget his labour and his toil. Believe, the elder bairns come drapping in, at service out among the farmer's rune, some caw the plough, some herd, some tenty rin, a canny errand to a neighbour toon. Their eldest hope their Jenny woman growing, in youthful bloom, love sparkling in her ee, comes hame, perhaps to show a braw new goon, or deposit her Sherr 1 penny fee, to help her parents dear, if they in hardship be. With joy unfeigned, brothers and sisters meet, and each for others' welfare kindly speers. The social hours, swift-winged, unnoticed fleet, each tells the uncles that he sees or hears. The parents' partial eye their hopeful years. Anticipation forward points the view. The mother, wi' her needle and her shears, gars all clays look amazed as wheels the new. The father mixes awe wi' admonition due. Their masters and their mistresses command, the younkers all are warned to obey, and mind their labours wi' an ident hand, and ne'er do out of sight to jouk or play. And oh, be sure to fear the Lord alway, and mind your duty duly morn and night, lest in temptation's path ye gang astray. Implore his counsel and assisting might. They never sought in vain that sought the Lord aright. But hark, a rap comes gently to the door. Jenny, wha kens the meaning o' the same, tells how a neighbour lad came o'er the moor. to do some errands and convoy her hame. The wily mother sees the conscious flame sparkle in Jenny's ee and flush her cheek. With heart-struck, anxious care inquires his name, while Jenny Halflands is afraid to speak. Weel pleased, the mother hears it's nae wild worthless rake. With kindly welcome, Jenny brings him Ben, a strapping youth. He takes the mother's ee. Blithe Jenny sees the visit's not ill ta'en. The father cracks at horses, ploughs and kye. The youngster's artless heart o'erflows with joy. But late, and Laithfu scarce can weel behave. The mother wi' a woman's wiles can spy what makes the youth sae bashful and sae grave. Weel pleased to think her bairn's respected like the lave. Ah, happy love, where love like this is found. O heartfelt raptures, bliss beyond compare. I've paced much this weary mortal round, and sage experience bids me this declare. If heaven a draught of heavenly pleasure spare, one cordial in this melancholy vale, 'tis when a youthful, loving, modest pair in others' arms breathe it, the tender tale, beneath the milk-white thorn that scents the evening gale. Is there in human form that bears a heart, a wretch, a villain, lost to love and truth, that can, with studied, sly and snaring art, betray sweet Jenny's unsuspecting youth? Curse on his perjured arts the semblance smooth. Are honour, virtue, conscience all exiled? Is there no pity, no relenting ruth? Points to the parents fondling over their child, then paints the ruined maid and their distraction wild. But now the supper crowns their simple board, the wholesome porridge, chief of Scotia's food, the soup their only hockey does afford, that yont the Halland snugly chousers could. The dame brings forth, in complimental mood, to grace the lad, her weel-hained kebbock fell, and aft he's pressed, and aft he's cawed it good. The frugal wifey garrulous will tell how 'twas a townmond auld, sin lint was in the bell. The cheerful supper done, with serious face, they, round the ingle, form a circle wide. The sire turns o'er with patriarchal grace the big haw Bible, ance his father's pride. His bonnet reverently is laid aside, his lyre half its wearing thin and bare. Those strains that once did sweet in Zion glide, he wails a portion with judicious care. And let us worship God, he says with solemn air. They chant their artless notes in simple guise. They tune their hearts, by far the noblest aim. Perhaps Dundee's wild, warbling measures rise, or plaintive martyrs worthy of the name, or noble Elgin beats the heavenward flame. The sweetest far of Scotia's holy lays, compared with these, Italian trills are tame. The tickled ears no heartfelt raptures raise, nae unison hae they with our Creator's praise. The priest-like father reads the sacred page, how Abraham was a friend of God on high, on Moses bade eternal warfare wage, with Amalek's ungracious progeny, or how the royal bard did groaning lie beneath the stroke of heaven's avenging ire, or Job's pathetic plaint and wailing cry, or rapt Isaiah's wild seraphic fire, or other holy seers that tune the sacred lyre. Perhaps the Christian volume is the theme, how guiltless blood for guilty man was shed, how he who bore in heaven the second name had not on earth whereon to lay his head, how his first followers and servants sped, the precepts sage they wrote to many a land, how he who lone in Patmos banished saw in the sun a mighty angel stand, and heard great Babylon's doom pronounced by heaven's command. Then kneeling down to heaven's eternal King, the saint, the father, and the husband praise, Hope springs exulting on triumphant wing, that thus they all shall meet in future days, there ever bask in uncreated rays, no more to sigh or shed the bitter tear, together hymning their Creator's praise, in such society yet still more dear, while circling time moves round in an eternal sphere. Compared with this, how poor religion's pride, in all the pomp of method and of art, when men display to congregations wide devotion's every grace, except the heart. The power incensed the pageant will desert, the pompous strain the sacerdotal stole. But haply, in some cottage far apart, may hear well pleased the language of the soul, and in his book of life the inmates poor enroll. Then homeward all take off their several way, the youngling cottagers retire to rest, the parent pair their secret homage pay, and proffer up to heaven the warm request, that he who stills the raven's clamorous nest, and decks the lily fair in flowery pride, would, in the way his wisdom sees the best, for them and for their little ones provide, but chiefly in their hearts with grace divine preside. From scenes like these old Scotia's grandeur springs, that makes her loved at hame, revered abroad. Princes and lords are but the breath of kings, an honest man's the noblest work of God. And certes, in fair virtue's heavenly road, the cottage leaves the palace far behind. What is a lordling's pomp, a cumbrous load, disguising off the wretch of humankind, studied in arts of hell, in wickedness refined? O Scotia, my dear, my native soil, for whom my warmest wish to heaven is sent, long may thy hardy sons of rustic toil be blessed with health and peace and sweet content, and oh, may heaven their simple lives prevent from luxury's contagion weak and vile. Then how our crowns and cornets be rent, a virtuous populace may rise the while and stand a wall of fire around their much loved isle. O thou, who poured the patriotic tide that streamed through great unhappy Wallace' heart, who dared to nobly stem tyrannic pride, or nobly die the second glorious part, the patriot's God peculiarly thou art, his friend, inspirer, guardian and reward. O never, never Scotia's realm desert, but still the patriot and the patriot bard in bright succession raise her ornament and guard. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Desiderata by Max Ehrmann. Read for LibriVox.org by JakeW. Go placidly amid the noise and the haste, and remember what peace there may be in silence. As far as possible, without surrender, be on good terms with all persons. Speak your truth quietly and clearly, and listen to others, even the dull and the ignorant. They too have their story. Avoid loud and aggressive persons. They are vexatious to the spirit. If you compare yourself with others, you may become vain or bitter, for always there will be greater and lesser persons than yourself. Enjoy your achievements as well as your plans. Keep interested in your own career, however humble. It is a real possession in the changing fortunes of time. Exercise caution in your business affairs, for the world is full of trickery. But let this not blind you to what virtue there is. Many persons strive for high ideals, and everywhere life is full of heroism. Be yourself. Especially do not feign affection. Neither be cynical about love, for in the face of all aridity and disenchantment it is as perennial as the grass. Take kindly the counsel of the years, gracefully surrendering the things of youth. Nurture strength of spirit to shield you in sudden misfortune. But do not distress yourself with dark imaginings. Many fears are born of fatigue and loneliness. Beyond a wholesome discipline, be gentle with yourself. You are a child of the universe, no less than the trees and the stars. You have a right to be here. And whether or not it is clear to you, no doubt the universe is unfolding as it should. Therefore, be at peace with God, whatever you conceive him to be, and whatever your labours and aspirations in the noisy confusion of life, keep peace in your soul. With all its sham, drudgery, and broken dreams, it is still a beautiful world. Be cheerful. Strive to be happy. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Dreams of the Dreamer by Georgia Douglas Johnson. Read for LibriVox.org by Winston Tharp. The dreams of the dreamer are life drops that pass the break in the heart to the soul's hourglass. The songs of the singer are tones that repeat the cry of the heart till it ceases to beat. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Easter Chords by Margaret Elizabeth Munson Sangster. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. Christ the Lord is risen today. Sons of men and angels say, raise your joys and triumphs high. Sing, ye heavens, and earth reply. Sweet, sweet and clear the dear old strain across the aisles is pealing. The choir uplifts its stately chords that throb with tender feeling. For never time as Easter time brings gladness to our eyes, when morning unto evening tells the rapture of the skies. Love's redeeming work is done, fought the fight, the battle's won. Lo, the sun's eclipse is o'er, lo, he sets in blood no more. Again we read the wondrous tale, how on the cross they bound him, how Jew and Roman jeered and scoffed in cruel throngs around him. Till noon forgot its light in gloom, and all the world grew black, while he who came to save us paid the price with naught held back. Vain the stone, the watch, the seal, Christ hath burst the gates of hell. Death in vain forbids his rise, Christ hath opened paradise. Oh, listen, thrilling far and loud the glorious strains excelling, for death forevermore is dead, triumphant shouts are swelling. They who have passed beyond the stream and reached the other side exult in life that never ends, with Christ are satisfied. Hail the Lord of earth and heaven, praise to thee by both be given. Thee we greet triumphant now, hail the resurrection thou. In solemn joy, in trustful hope, in faith that cannot falter, this Easter day we bring our meed of praises to God's altar. All crowns are set on Christ's dear head, the crown of thorns that wore. Forever and evermore our Savior we adore. O risen Lord victorious, O Son of God most high, who for our sins did bear the yoke, who came for us to die. In thee we conquer death and hell, in thee we rise and reign. Life throbs today victorious in every pulsing vein. We have no fear, we have no doubt, we read redemption's story, and earth and heaven together meet in ecstasies of glory. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Gethsemane by Margaret Elizabeth Munson Sangster. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. The dew lay thick on thorn and flower, and where the olives clustered gray, weird shapes within that awesome hour between the midnight and the day seemed walking phantom-like abroad, as if to vex the Son of God. And all the city lay asleep, o'er beast and bird the spell was cast, and nothing stirred the silence deep, save where our Lord the vigil passed. The long, lone vigil, when his prayer was uttered from a heart's despair. "Oh, watch with me one little hour!" His tender tones had pleading cried unto the faithful three, whose dower of love had kept them near his side. Nay, folded hands and drooping head, and slumber, quiet as the dead. No wonder then for weariness, the second time they fall asleep. He turns in very tenderness, and leaves them to repose so deep. Alone he meets the serpent foe, alone he bears the bitter woe. Gethsemane, Gethsemane, we see the glory and the gloom. Through all thy pain and agony, thy garden wears immortal bloom. 'Twas human friendship failed him there, but love divine did hear his prayer. Life's bitter cups we too must take, life's bitter bread in anguish eat. But when our hearts are like to break, there comes to us a whisper sweet. Fear thou no, dim Gethsemane, thy sleepless friend will watch with thee. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Gloaming by Robert Adger Bowen. Read for LibriVox.org by Ike Sherr. Skies to the west are strained with madder, amber light on the rare blue hills. The sow from the pines is growing sadder. From the meadowlands sound the whippoorwills. Air is sweet with the breath of clover. Dusk is on, and the day is over. Skies to the east are strained with golden, tremulous light on the darkening pond. Glowworms pale to the dark beholden. Twitterlings hush in the hedge beyond. Air is sweet with the breath of clover. Silver the hills where the moon climbs over. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Gods in Perdition by John Davidson. Read for LibriVox.org by Arden. The Gods in Perdition. Without a pang I died, but shrieking waked. In thee last hell remaining, hell unknown to men before my visit, appalling hell. The hell of deity, where other world intolerable agony endured. Although the instantaneousness of hell extorted sudden outcry, yet the thought that immaterial falsehood of the spirit had not escaped, but that the gods themselves, a fierier flame, a fiercer torture knew than any penalty infernal dealt, the human victims of their wrath divine, inventors, patrons, connoisseurs of hell, was as a drop of water on my tongue, a chord of music and a breath of wind amid the dismal noise, the withering heat, the awful restlessness, the live despair. Beside me on the threshold the goddess stood, as young, as full of zest, and as divine as when she passed me on the mountain top. I also, in the splendor of my youth, entered the dread inferno of the gods, for that the anguish there might still surpass the utmost pain in every other hell. The spirit and strength of all the denizens, restored at once, were to the height maintained by the pure flame they breathed, the atmosphere, being also nurture and stimulant, in one exhaustive torment of that shrine of woe, that all the essences of other world should breathe, should feed on hell like plants on air, and should become in every artery, nerve, secretion, organ, bone, and muscle, hell. Insufferable hell was the supreme distinction, the redundancy superb, and hellishness that made the hell of the gods preeminent hell, but over and above the general torture native in the air, so stringent and imbuing that the might combine the majesty and pride of gods, the highest, Jove, Poseidon, Mulciber, or Mazda and Ahriman, Woden, Surtur, Mars, could not have borne in silence a moment's throw, each individual, from the daintiest elf, that fed on perfume once and bathed in dew, to cyclopean figures vast, of yore, the armorers and farriers of the gods, endured the unendurable, impaled against the towering cliff of adamant, sheer as a waterfall and smooth as glass, broad as the bastion of an island realm, and topaz hued by reflex of the flame that filled the wide and lofty vault of hell. Its atmosphere, impalement manifold, the pegs and bolts, the skewers and beams, being of the soul of metal, an element, unknown on earth, that where it pierces lives, an aching life metallic, in pain itself, and to the wounded spirit imparting power, transcendent to experience agonies, that felt less keenly, with a single pang had ended every god, supine or prone, the fairies, kobolds, dwarfs by pins and nails, transfixed like butterflies and beetles, screamed but stretched mouths, wings abuzz and wriggling limbs. And though they wrenched and wrung their bodies, they and every sufferer there, incessantly, the puncture of the impalement sucked the stake like a fierce mouth. Such was the energy constrictive in this magic meadow lodged. Titans and Thyrses huge dropped from the height. On Ganches pined, such groups of barbs and spikes as on the walls of Orient cities clutched, the mangled malefactor, dying long in hideous misery, through the bowels thrust, hooked by a leg and in both shoulders gripped, the storm leviathan, enormous Thrym, terrific anguish from his cavernous maw, uttered continually. Beside him hung uncouthly by the head, his eye-hole pierced, by other malice than the wandering Greeks, his bulk contorted and inanely trussed, on giant prongs that dug through either thigh, and curving gashed his midriff, ocean's son. The cloud-high Polyphemus writhed and roared upon a skewer that through their navel stuck, Vulcan and Mars, with Venus wedged between, bellowed discordant frenzy as they bit and clawed each other. Juno stitched to Jove by latticed sides, austerely, back to back, bayed like a she-wolf maddening at the moon, while her great consort's lion throat unstopped, pealed out the diapason of all woe, Kronos with Rhea, Baal with Ashtaroth, Woden with Freya, such espousal had, in couples ganched, and howling deep and shrill, hell's hymenean. There Apollo, rat among a grove of scimitars that grew, like sedges through his deity, suppressed his tuneless note a moment when he saw his conqueror come so soon to share his fate. Thor, clamorous on an antlered couch, pronounced infernal welcome, and Idoneus, stabbed in every limb and organ, lifted up a piercing voice that for a breath outsoared the thunderous choir of hell. This heard and seen within the instant of my entrance, more I could not mark for the appalling pain that the first breath of hell instilled, but flung my unheard cry into the whelming noise, absorbed in monstrous torment. Yet I knew, by the inherent faculty of hell, that my divine companion of the night, impaled throughout her sumptuous deity, beside Athena strung upon a stake, wriggled and yelled abominably hurt. Also I knew, in the one instant still, like all the happening in the hell of the gods, that on the adamantine bastion hung a figure crucified which was myself, and that beside myself there hanging, I, a second time, being he who entered, nailed through either palm at arm's length drawn, and through, my feet together pressed, beheld myself, still standing at the entry, mouth agape and pouring horror to behold a third appearance of myself against the wall, my hands and feet affixed. Then I, the man I am, the very man, beside the three phantasmas of myself was also nailed. For I, as man, was guilty of the gods, guilty of God, and in myself partook uniquely of the nature of the gods, having supped upon their food, and having loved a deity, and been by her beloved. 4 persons in the Godhead, the Sire, the Son, the Holy Spirit, and the Evil One. The faculty of hell within me cried, and in the instant, though that instant seemed eternity quadrupled, so intense the fourfold agony became. The last of all the hells, and the most terrible, desisted wholly, and I stood once more, alone upon the mountain of my choice, and saw the northern dawn await the world. The mechanism of automatic fate brought it about that when I thought to die, eternally I died to live again. Thus in my night adventure and my death, I purged the world of the last remnant left, of other world, the hideous hell of the gods, of virgin worship, and, in myself, of God, pernicious slander of material truth, so terribly avenged in the last hell. And thus I made the world a fit abode for greatness in the men who yet may be, and can myself with joy become again the mountains and the ocean, the winds, the flowers, in life and death, and fear and love and hope, and tender sorrow and heavy grief, and all humanity, and all that thinks and is, remaining still the conscious mystery throned among the stars, with systems round beset, by throngs of constellations haunted, discs gigantic looming white on every hand, and married globes whose orbits intertwine, whose burnished lights instinct with diverse stains revolve about each other deep in space, saffron with sapphire, emerald with ruby red, and purple stars with topaz doubles sphered, or wonderful as instruments attuned to some new ravishment of keen accord, in virgin gold and lilac burning bright, a stellar passion of harmonious fire. I dare not, must not die. I am the sight and hearing of the infinite. In me matter fulfills itself. Before me none beheld or heard, imagined, thought, or felt. And though I make the mystery known to men, it may be none hereafter shall achieve the perfect purpose of eternity. It may be that the universe attains self-knowledge only once, and when I cease to see and hear, imagine, think, and feel, the end may come, and matter, satisfied, devolve once more through wanton change, and tides of slow relapse, suns, systems, galaxies, back to ethereal oblivion, pure accomplished darkness, might immaculate, augmenting everlastingly in space. Me, therefore, it beseems, while life endures, to haunt my palace in the Milky Way, and into music change the tumult high, that echoes through the vast, unvaulted courts, interminable, where the nebulae, evolving constellations, their spindles whirl. Me it beseems to take my joy in heaven, revealing glory by my soul conceived, and by my soul begotten, in the rapt cohabitation with eternity. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Good Friday by Margaret Elizabeth Munson Sangster. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. Be hushed, my heart, remembering what dole was given for thee. How pressed on him thy burden, when for all the sinful sons of men Christ went to Calvary. The mournful journey that he made, each step was taken for thee. Be hushed, my heart, let clamor cease. Prepare a chamber white with peace, his resting place to be. In solemn shadow of the cross, O soul, abide till he who tasted death, ere thou shouldst know its bitterness of utmost woe, with strength shall girden thee. Its Via Dolorosa still each life of earth must see, and in some hour, or soon or late, must bend beneath the crushing weight of earth's Gethsemane. But heart in love and prayer look up beyond the awesome tree. The heaven of heavens is reft today. All angels march the starry way that leads from Calvary. For conquering the Lord of life, his mighty legions free, goes forward while the ages roll, the price of every ransomed soul, full paid on Calvary. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Grave Tree by Bliss Carman. Read for LibriVox.org by Chloe H.W. Let me have a scarlet maple for the grave tree at my head, with the quiet sun behind it in the years when I am dead. Let me have it for a signal where the long winds stream and stream, clear across the dim blue distance like a horn blown in a dream. Scarlet when the April vanguard bugles up the laggard spring, scarlet when the bannered autumn marches by unwavering. It will comfort me with honey when the shining rifts and showers sweep across the purple valley and bring back the forest flowers. It will be my leafy cabin, large enough when June returns and I hear the golden thrushes flute and hesitate by turns. And in fall, some yellow morning, when the stealthy frost has come, leaf by leaf it will befriend me as with comrades going home. Let me have the silent valley and the hill that fronts the east, so that I can watch the morning redden and the stars released. Leave me in the great lone country, for I shall not be afraid, with the shy moose and the beaver there within my scarlet shade. I would sleep, but not too soundly, where the sunning partridge drums, till the crickets hush before him when the scarlet hunter comes. That will be in warm September, in the stillness of the year, when the river blue is deepest and the other world is near. When the apples burn their reddest and the corn is in the sheaves, I shall stir and waken lightly at a footfall in the leaves. It will be the scarlet hunter come to tell me time is done. On the idle hills forever there will stand the idle sun. There the wind will stay to whisper many wonders to the reeds, but I shall not fear to follow where my scarlet hunter leads. I shall know him in the darkling murmur of the river bars, while his feet are on the mountains, treading out the smoldering stars. I shall know him in the sunshine, sleeping in my scarlet tree, long before he halts beside it, stooping down to summon me. Then fear not, my friends, to leave me in the boding autumn vast. There are many things to think of when the roving days are past. Leave me by the scarlet maple when the journeying shadows fail, waiting till the scarlet hunter pass upon the endless trail. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Great Britain by Harry Graham. Read for LibriVox.org by Tony Scheinman. Great Britain. The British are a chilly race. The Englishman is thin and tall. He screws an eyeglass in his face and talks with a reluctant drawl. "Good gracious, this is deuced slow. By Jove, haw, Demi, don't you know? The English woman everywhere a meed of admiration wins. She has a crown of silken hair, and quite the loveliest of skins. Go forth and seek an English maid. Your trouble will be well repaid. Where Britain's banner is unfurled, there's room for nothing else beside. She owns 1/4 of the world, and still she is not satisfied. The Briton thinks himself by birth to be the lord of all the earth. Some call his manners wanting or his sense of humour poor, and yet, whatever he is striving for, he as a rule contrives to get. His methods may be much in blame, but he arrives there just the same. Moral: if you can get your wish, you bet it doesn't matter how you get it. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Harbour by Thomas Flatman. Read for LibriVox.org by Public Domain Scholar. The Harbour. O tedious hopes, when will the storm be over? When will the beaten vessel reach the shore? Long have I striven with blustering winds and tides, clouds o'er my head, waves on my sides, which in my dark adventures I did swell, while heaven was black as hell. O love, tempestuous love, yet at last, let me my anchor cast, and for the troubles I have undergone, O bring me to a port, which I may call my own. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Harlot's House by Oscar Wilde. Read for LibriVox by Rags. We caught the tread of dancing feet. We loitered down the moonlit street and stopped beneath the Harlot's house. Inside, above the din and fray, we heard the loud musicians play the Tres Liebesherz of Strauss. Like strange mechanical grotesques, making fantastic arabesques, the shadows raced across the blind. We watched the ghostly dancers spin to sound of horn and violin, like black leaves wheeling in the wind. Like wire-pulled automatons, slim silhouetted skeletons went sliding through the slow quadrille, then took each other by the hand and danced a stately saraband. Their laughter echoed thin and shrill. Sometimes a clockwork puppet pressed a phantom lover to her breast. Sometimes they seemed to try and sing. Sometimes a horrible marionette came out and smoked its cigarette upon the steps like a live thing. Then turning to my love, I said, "The dead are dancing with the dead. The dust is whirling with the dust." But she heard the violin and left my side and entered in. Love passed into the house of lust. Then suddenly the tune went false. The dancers wearied of the waltz. The shadows ceased to wheel and whirl, and down along the silent street, the dawn, with silver-sandaled feet, crept like a frightened girl. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Haunted Chamber by Robert F. Murray. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. Life is a house where many chambers be, and all the doors will yield to him who tries, save one, whereof men say behind it lies the haunting secret. He who keeps the key keeps it securely, smiles perchance to see the eager hands stretched out to clutch the prize, or looks with pity in the yearning eyes, and is half moved to let the secret free. And truly some at every hour pass through, and tread upon that solemn floor, yet come not back to tell what they have found. We will not importune, as others do, with tears and cries, the keeper of the door, but wait till our appointed hour comes round.
End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Hope is the Thing with Feathers by Emily Dickinson. Read for LibriVox by Rags. Hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without the words and never stops at all. And the sweetest in the gale is heard, and sore must be the storm that could abash the little bird that kept so many warm. I've heard it in the chillest land and on the strangest sea, yet never in extremity it asked a crumb of me. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
I Am the Song of Love by Joseph T. Shipley. Read for LibriVox.org by Cavaet. I am the song of love. I murmur gently in the secret places, when the lovers breathe the gladness of the sky, when they laugh, and the cause of their mirth is hidden, when they are oaring with the bird, adrift with the cloud, astir with the leaves and the blades of grass, and the spring. I am the song they sing. I am the pearl of their caresses. I am the cry of the passion of love. I swell through the ardour of embracing. Tongues whisper me to tongue, and I rise in the breast of the maiden. I throb in the arms that encircle. I beat in the legs that entwine. I climb to a roar of ecstatic flow, man to woman, the full bellowed call of life, before the panting diminish and the blissful anguish die. I am the passion cry. I am the rhythm of their silences. I am the sob of their sorrow of love. When the tigress hunts the jungle of her mind, solitary, baffled, when her mate is caged in convention, is exhibited upon the highways of life, I am the moan of her loneliness. I am the howl of his rage. When the stars glow unheeded above a lone bowed head, when longing lovers watch the studded air, each viewing other constellations, when the low bell of midnight falls on the listening, unexpectant ear, and the lark proclaims anew the impotent day, when absence lays its hoarfrost on the soul, when death has come to rob, I am the sorrow sob. I am the eternal, ever-changing song of love. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Life by Ella Wheeler Wilcox. Read for LibriVox.org by Roger Smith. Life. Life, like a romping schoolboy full of glee, doth bear us on his shoulder for a time. There is no path too steep for him to climb. With strong, lithe limbs, as agile and as free, as sun young roe he speeds by vale and sea, by flowery mead, by mountain peak sublime, and all the world seems motion set to rhyme, till, tired out, he cries, "Now carry me." In vain we murmur, "Come," life says, "fair play," and seizes on us. God, he goads us so. He does not let us sit down all the day. At each new step we feel the burden grow, till our bent backs seem breaking as we go, watching for death to meet us on the way. End of recording. This recording is in the public domain.
Lines written in early spring by William Wordsworth. Read for LibriVox.org by JakeW. I heard 1,000 blended notes while in a grove I sate reclined, in that sweet mood when pleasant thoughts bring sad thoughts to the mind. To her fair works did nature link the human soul that through me ran, and much it grieved my heart to think what man has made of man. Through primrose tufts in that green bower the periwinkle trailed its wreaths, and 'tis my faith that every flower enjoys the air it breathes. The birds around me hopped and played, their thoughts I cannot measure, but the least motion which they made, it seemed a thrill of pleasure. The budding twigs spread out their fan to catch the breezy air, and I must think, do all I can, that there was pleasure there. If this belief from heaven be sent, if such be nature's holy plan, have I not reason to lament what man has made of man? End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Little Breeches by John Hay. Read for LibriVox.org by Anthony St. Pierre. March 2025. I don't go much on religion. I never ain't had no show. But I've got a middlin' tight grip, sir, on the handful of things I know. I don't pan out on the prophets and free will and that sort of thing. But I believe in God and the angels ever since one night last spring. I come into town with some turnips, and my little Gabe come along. No 4-year-old in the county could beat him for purty and strong. Pert and chipper and sassy, always ready to swear and fight. And I'd larned him to chaw tobacco, just to keep his milk teeth white. The snow came down like a blanket as I passed by Taggart's store. I went in for a jug of molasses and left the team at the door. They scared at something and started. I heard one little squall, and hell to split over the prairie went team, Little Breeches, and all. Hell to split over the prairie. I was almost froze with skeer, but we rousted up some torches and sarched for 'em far and near. At last we struck horses and wagon, snowed under a soft white mound, upsot dead beat, but of little Gabe nor hide nor hair was found. And here all hope soured on me of my fellow critters' aid. I just flopped down on my marrow bones, crotch deep in the snow, and prayed. By this the torches were played out, and me and Israel Parr went off for some wood to a sheepfold that he said was somewhere thar. He found it at last, and a little shed where they shot up the lambs at night. We looked in and seen them huddled thar, so warm and sleepy and white. And thar sot Little Breeches, and chirped as pert as ever you see, I want a chaw tobacco, and that's what's the matter of me. How did he get thar? Angels! He could never have walked in that storm. They just scooped down and toted him to what was safe and warm. And I think that saving a little child and bringing him to his own is a darned sight better business than loafing around the throne. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Lost Liberty by Robert F. Murray. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. Of our own will we are not free. When freedom lies within our power, we wait for some decisive hour to rise and take our liberty. Still we delay, content to be imprisoned in our own high tower. What is it but a strong-built bower? Ours are the warders, ours the key. But we through indolence grow weak, our warders, fed with power so long, become at last our lords indeed. We vainly threaten, vainly seek to move their ruth. The bars are strong, we dash against them till we bleed.
End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Love Lies Bleeding by Thomas Sturge Moore. Read for LibriVox.org by Newgatenovelist. Love lies bleeding. Fever is feeding on flesh which swords have stricken. Should sweet blood clot and thicken, how could they slay him so, when we're pleading such eyes as his, you know? Such eyes, such woe. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Nature That Washed Her Hands by Sir Walter Raleigh. Read for LibriVox.org by Cavaet. Nature that washed her hands in milk and had forgot to dry them, instead of earth took snow and silk at love's request to try them, if she a mistress could compose, to please love fancy out of those. Her eyes he would should be of light, a violet breath and lips of jelly, her hair not black nor over bright, and of the softest down her belly, and as for her inside he'd have it only of wantonness and wit. At love's entreaty such a one nature made, but with her beauty she framed a heart of stone, so as love by ill destiny must die for her whom nature gave him, because her darling would not save him. But time, which nature doth despise, and rudely gives her love the lie, makes hope a fool and sorrow wise. His hands doth neither wash nor dry, but being made of steel and rust, turn snow and silk and milk to dust. The light, the belly, lips, and breath he dims, discolours, and destroys. With those he feeds, but fills not death, which sometimes were the food of joys. Yea, time doth dull each lively wit, and dries all wantonness with it. O cruel time, which takes in trust our youth, our joys, and all we have, and pays us but with age and dust, who in the dark and silent grave, when we have wandered all our ways, shuts up the story of our days. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Poets and Linnets by Tom Hood. Read for LibriVox.org by Ike Sherr. After Robert Browning. Where'er there's a thistle to feed a linnet, and linnets are plenty, thistles rife, or an acorn cup to catch dewdrops in it, there's ample promise of further life. Now, mark how we begin it. For linnets will follow if linnets are minded as blows the white feather parachute. The ship will reel by the tempest blinded, aye, ships, and shiploads of men to boot. How deep old fleets you'll find hid. And we blow the thistle down hither and thither, forgetful of linnets and men and God. The dew, for its want, an oak will wither, and the dull hoof into the dust is trod. And then, who strikes the cither? But thistles were only for donkeys intended, and that donkeys are common enough is clear. And that drop, what a vessel it might have befriended! Does it add any flavour to Glubberbib's beer? Well, there's my musings ended. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Rivers of Canada by Bliss Carman. Read for LibriVox.org by Chloe H.W. Oh, all the little rivers that run to Hudson's Bay, they call me and call me to follow them away. Missinaba, Abitibi, little current where they run, dancing and sparkling, I see them in the sun. I hear the brawling rapid, the thunder of the fall, and when I think upon them, I cannot stay at all. At the far end of the Kerry, where the wilderness begins, set me down with my canoe load and forgiveness of my sins. Oh, all the mighty rivers beneath the polar star, they call me and call me to follow them afar. Peace and Athabasca, and Coppermine and Slave, and Yukon and Mackenzie, the highroads of the brave. Saskatchewan, Assiniboine, the Bow and the Qu'Appelle, and many a prairie river whose name is like a spell. They rumor through the twilight, at the edge of the unknown, there's a message waiting for you, and a kingdom all your own. The wilderness shall feed you, her gleam shall be your guide. Come out from desolations, our path of hope is wide. Oh, all the headlong rivers that hurry to the west, they call me and lure me with the joy of their unrest. Columbia and Fraser and Bear and Kootenay, I love their fearless reaches where winds untarnished play. The rush of glacial water across the pebbly bar to polished pools of azure where the hidden boulders are. Just there with heaven smiling, any morning I would be, where all the silver rivers go racing to the sea. Oh, well-remembered rivers that sing of long ago, a journeying through summer or dreaming under snow. Among their meadow islands through placid days they glide, and where the peaceful orchards are diked against the tide. Tobique and Madawaska and shining Gaspereau, St. Croix and Nashwauk, and St. John, whose haunts I used to know, and all the pleasant rivers that seek the Fundy foam, they call me and call me to follow them home. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
September Twilight by Thomas Sturge Moore. Read for LibriVox.org by Newgatenovelist. A large pool and tall trees, and lo, undressed one runs out, pauses, hesitates, looks round. Twilight reviveth freedom long oppressed. The bather plunges in, a generous sound and radiant splash of waters welcome him. His wake all silver widens, he can swim. Swim in that dark cold water. Swim and wend as through a dream with strange facility. A dream still quite unconscious it must end, quite dreadless. Though this pool proved open sea, no memory goes with it, no hope leads, but inwardly content it onward speeds. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Silence Sings by Thomas Sturge Moore. Read for LibriVox.org by Newgatenovelist. So faint, no ear is sure it hears, so faint and far, so vast that very near appears my voice, both here and in each star, unmeasured leagues do bridge between, like that which on a face is seen where secrets are. Sweeping, like veils of lofty balm, tresses unbound, or desert sand, or ocean calm, I am wherever is not sound, and, goddess of the truthful face, my beauty doth instil its grace, that joy abound. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Solomon Kane's Homecoming by Robert E. Howard. Read for LibriVox.org by Tony Scheinman. The white gulls wheeled above the cliffs. The air was slashed with foam. The long tides moaned along the strand when Solomon Kane came home. He walked in silence, strange and dazed, through the little Devon town. His gaze, like a ghost's come back to life, roamed up the streets and down. The people followed wonderingly to mark his spectral stare, and in the tavern silently they thronged about him there. He heard as a man hears in a dream the worn old rafters creak, and Solomon lifted his drinking jack and spoke as a ghost might speak. There sat Sir Richard Grenville once, in smoke and flame he passed, and we were 1 to 53, but we gave them blast for blast. From crimson dawn to crimson dawn, we held the dons at bay. The dead lay littered on our decks, our masts were shot away. We beat them back with broken blades till crimson ran the tide. Death thundered in the cannon smoke when Richard Grenville died. We should have blown her hull apart and sunk beneath the main. The people saw upon his wrists the scars of the racks of Spain. Where is Bess? Said Solomon Kane. Woe that I caused her tears. In the quiet churchyard by the sea, she has slept these 7 years. The sea wind moaned at the window pane, and Solomon bowed his head. Ashes to ashes, and dust to dust, and the fairest fade, he said. His eyes were mystical deep pools that drowned unearthly things, and Solomon lifted up his head and spoke of his wanderings. Mine eyes have looked on sorcery in the dark and naked lands, horror born of the jungle gloom, and death on the pathless sands. And I have known a deathless queen in a city old as death, where towering pyramids of skulls her glory witnesseth. Her kiss was like an adder's fang with the sweetness Lilith had, and her red-eyed vassals howled for blood in that city of the mad. And I have slain a vampire shape that sucked a black king white, and I have roamed through grisly hills where dead men walked at night, and I have seen heads fall like fruit in the slaver's barracoon, and I have seen winged demons fly all naked in the moon. My feet are weary of wandering, and age comes on apace. I fain would dwell in Devon now, forever in my place. The howling of the ocean pack came whistling down the gale, and Solomon Kane threw up his head like a hound that snuffs a trail. Adown the wind like a running pack the hounds of the ocean bayed, and Solomon Kane rose up again and girt his Spanish blade. In his strange cold eyes a vagrant gleam grew wayward and blind and bright, and Solomon put the people by and went into the night. A wild moon rode the wild white clouds, the waves in white crests flowed, when Solomon Kane went forth again, and no man knew his road. They glimpsed him etched against the moon, where clouds on hilltop thinned. They heard an eerie echoed call that whistled down the wind. End of Solomon Kane's Homecoming. This recording is in the public domain.
A Song for Australia, God Bless the Dear Old Land, by William Cox Bennett. Read by Michael Early. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. 1,000 leagues below the line, 'neath southern stars and skies, mid alien seas, a land that's ours, our own New England lies. From north to south, 6,000 miles heave white with ocean foam, between the dear old land we've left and this our newfound home. Yet what though oceans stretch between, though here this hour we stand, our hearts, thank God, are English still. God bless the dear old land. To England, men, a bumper brim, up, brothers, glass in hand. England, I give you, England, boys. God bless the dear old land. Oh, what a greatness she makes ours. Her past is all our own, and such a past as she can boast, and brothers, she alone. Her mighty ones the night of time, triumphant shining through. Of them our sons shall proudly say, they were our fathers too. For us her living glory shines that has through ages shone. Let's match it with a kindred blaze, through ages to live on. Thank God her great free tongue is ours. Up, brothers, glass in hand. Here's England, freedom's boast and ours. God bless the dear old land. For us, from priests and kings, she won rights of such priceless worth as make the races from her sprung the freemen of the earth. Free faith, free thought, free speech, free laws she won through bitter strife, that we might breathe unfettered air and live unshackled life. Her freedom, boys, thank God, is ours, and little need she fear that we'll allow a right she won to die or wither here. Free born, to her who made us free, up, brothers, glass in hand. Hope of the free, here's England, boys. God bless the dear old land. They say that dangers cloud her way, that despots glower and threat. What matters that? Her mighty arm can smite and conquer yet. Let Europe's tyrants all combine, she'll meet them with a smile. Hers are Trafalgar's broadside still, the hearts that won the Nile. We are but young, we're growing fast, but with what loving pride! In danger's hour to front the storm, we'll range us at her side. We'll pay the debt we owe her then. Up, brothers, glass in hand. May God confound her enemies. God bless the dear old land. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Spring by Marian Angus. Read for LibriVox.org by Kenneth the Teller. Spring. The green corn springs in the warmth o' the rain. The robin pipes on a kirkyard stane. A ring o' golds on the neck o' the dew. The lammie suckles at the ewe. And my heart's fu'. As I gang my lane, where robin sings on a kirkyard stane. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Spring in New Hampshire by Claude McKay. Read for LibriVox.org by Phil Schempf. Too green the springing April grass, too blue the silver speckled sky, for me to linger here, alas, while happy winds go laughing by, wasting the golden hours indoors, washing windows and scrubbing floors. Too wonderful the April night, too faintly sweet the first May flowers, the stars too gloriously bright, for me to spend the evening hours, when fields are fresh and streams are leaping, wearied, exhausted, dully sleeping. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Spring Morning by Marion Strobel. Read for LibriVox.org by Winston Tharp. O day, if I could cup my hands and drink of you, and make this shining wonder be a part of me. O day, you lift and sway your colors on the sky till I am crushed with beauty. Why is there more of reeling sunlit air than I can breathe? Why is there sound in silence? Why is a singing wound about each hour, and perfume where there is no flower? O day, how may I press nearer to loveliness? End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The story of Ginevra degli Almieri, who was buried alive in Florence, by John Addington Symonds. Read for LibriVox.org by Brian Fullen, March 2025, Plano, Texas. 500 years ago, in that fair town of Tuscany where Giotto built his tower, a marble lily heavenward mid the crown of hills ascendant, where blue lilies flower on the grey city walls, and Arno brown from Vallombrosa between laurel bower and olive garden seeks the Pisan shore, and Florence is a joy for evermore. 2 lovers dwelt, their legend strange yet true, grave in its issues, in its ending gay. I will in antique rhyme rehearse to you, even as a poet one past summer day told me the tale. But first I must renew the bygone griefs which on that people lay, when plague was in their homes, and mortal dread o'er the doomed city like a pall was spread. The Black Death with his dark Lethean rod stalked through the streets, and maniac terror went before him where, unseen, unheard, he trod. Husband from wife, father from child was rent, and human kindness, 'neath the curse of God, dried up like dew, leaving bewilderment, and blank dismay, and selfish fear of hell. The sick were straightway buried where each fell. Now it so happened that the flower of grace among the maids of Florence in that time was young Ginevra, with an angel's face, and soft voice musical as murmured rhyme. She was the scion of an ancient race, and blooming in her girlhood's golden prime, by words and deeds befitting noble blood, gave promise of a glorious womanhood. Among her many lovers there was one, Antonio, who with service leal and long had wooed and waited till her heart he won. Her secret heart he held, for love so strong, lodged in a form fair as the rising sun, may win a maiden's homage without wrong. Yet from her sire, Bernardo, he in vain, being poor but noble, sought her hand to gain. Bernardo to a youth of gentle birth, Francesco Agolanti, stout and proud, rich, powerful, and withal of manly worth, his daughter's troth in open court had vowed. The match was equal, and their marriage mirth scattered for some brief hours the brooding cloud that dwelt on Florence. But true love aloof, love strong as death, flew from that noisy roof. And so it chanced that just at eventide, when first Ginevra crossed her bridegroom's door, a pallor overspread her cheeks, and dyed her fair white brows with hues of violet o'er. Then clasping both hands to her aching side, upon the step she fell and moved no more. The marriage songs into shrill shrieks of dread changed, as those merrymakers turned and fled. The plague! The plague! They cried. Then, swift as doom, came body barriers down the street, a crew black-stoled with torches in the gathering gloom, who on their bier the swooning maiden threw, and bore her to her bride bed in the tomb. Alone she went, for all those friends untrue, yea, and the husband sworn to shield and save, had shrunk with nameless horror from her grave. Not so Antonio, not her lover Leal, for when he heard the din of marriage flutes break into dismal shriek and funeral wail, alone amid those mercenary mutes he walked, and watched the sexton's hand unseal, with brutal haste which the calm grave pollutes, the marble sepulchre wherein were laid Ginevra's forefathers among the dead. It was a monument twixt door and door of Santa Reparata, lifted high above the busy crowds who paced that floor, foot-polished, reared beneath the open sky. And here, as was their wont in days of yore, each Almieri in his turn must lie, a waiting sepulture within the grand cathedral aisles of gloom Arnolfo planned. From the huge chest the lid they wrenched in haste consigned her to its marble maw, and hastily the covering stone replaced. Then, as those wardens of the dead withdraw, Antonio for some little while embraced the frigid coffin which, by death's fell law, his dearest lady, so he dreamed, must hold, slumbering for ever in eternal cold. There too he prayed, but when the pallid moon peered o'er the house roofs, lingering, loath to part, he left his dear love's body lapped in stone, bearing her pure pale image in his heart, back to his cold fireside, and wept alone. Alas, he cries, that prayers are dumb, and art all powerless to restore my lady's grace. Would God that I were buried in her place! Now she who slept, and was not dead at all, but only frozen in a death-like trance, what time the dews of night began to fall, and the white moon upon her eyes to glance, glinting through chinks and crannies in the wall, ill-soldered where they lay her by mischance, lifted her head, and in the twilight gloom felt with frail fingers round about her tomb, as one who from a dream by slow degrees grows into consciousness, and first is ware of somewhat far away he cannot seize, and knows not where he lies, and doth not dare to stir the floods of fear that round him freeze, then suddenly starts up to quick despair. So in a moment, like a scorching flame, the truth of her mishap upon her came. Alive, alive, laid in the dreadful grave, Mary Madonna, have I then no hope? Help me, thou blessed Virgin, hear and save. Then like a caged bird beating on the cope of marble and that stubborn architrave, the narrow room she searched. Her weak hands grope along the crevices where moonbeams rain, and the lid stirs a little to her strain. The stone lid stirs, and bending all her might into one utmost effort, bit by bit, led by the kindly silver streaming light, with slow persistent urge she conquers it. Then, sheeted in her grave clothes, to the bright star-spangled heavens and sweet air infinite, emerges, as on resurrection morn the striving dead shall be from earth reborn. On her left hand, with marbles overlaid, soars Giotto's tower, familiar, pure and fair, and broad before her, between light and shade, spreads the deserted, silent city square. Lost for a while twixt dread and joy she stayed, nor dared to trust her soft feet to the bare pavement, and breathed the night, and felt the wind float in her hair, and soothe her fevered mind. Then shivering neath the blast October blue, from Mount Morello down the unpeopled street, across her breast that long white sheet she drew, and toward her husband's home with noiseless feet and streaming hair, pale as a phantom, flew, in dread lest some night wanderer she should meet, and stood before the door, and knocked, and cried, "Francesco, let me in." By the hearth-side Francesco sat, nursing a numb, dull woe, reckoning the days that should have been so dear. "Who calls?" he cried, but she, Dost thou not know thine own Ginevra? Through his veins ran fear. Crossing himself, he shuddered. Prithee go back to thy grave, poor ghost. Have better cheer. To-morrow for thy rest shall bells be rung, and masses o'er thy buried body sung. In vain she wept, in vain she beat the door, wailing, And is it doomed that I must die, twice die this night? Help, husband, I implore. But he was dumb, nor answered to her cry. Then to her father's house, lashed by the frore whip of the wind, beneath that wintry sky, sickening with fear and stumbling in her shroud, she came and called her mother's name aloud. O mother, mother, open, it is me, thine own Ginevra calls. But the old dame, wrapped up in grief's insensibility, watched the red embers leap into a flame upon the hearth before her tremblingly, and crossed herself, hearing her daughter's name, and cried, Go hence in peace, soul pure and blessed, fair daughter, sweet and dear, go hence and rest. And when Ginevra, leaning on the sill, tapped with her finger at the window pane, she only turned, and smit with deadly chill, called to the sheeted ghost, Come not again! Some shape art thou of unimagined ill. My daughter rests among the dead, and fain am I to sleep beside her. Then her head sank on her breast, and nothing more she said. Repulsed, abandoned, outcast, left to roam with death and darkness through the frosty night, driven from her husband's and her father's home, what shall Ginevra do in this sore plight? Like a ship rudderless that rides the foam, and drifts before the storm's relentless might, she hurries through her kinsfolk door by door, taking the same cold comfort as before. Go hence in peace, fair soul, sweet ghost, repose. Masses to-morrow for thy sake we say. At last unto Antonio, at the close of this dread night, in the first glint of day, fainting and dizzy with despair she goes, to prove if lovers' love be cold as they, and knocks, and on the doorstep falls full length, face downward, at the end of all her strength. Antonio rose and to his window went. Who knocks so late? The voice, as half awake, came feebly, for life's force was well nigh spent. It is Ginevra. For Christ's mercy's sake, help poor Ginevra. Like an arrow sent straight at the aim unerring archers take, he, hearing his dear lady, seized a light, nor stayed to fear lest he should meet a sprite, but brake the doors and down beside her knelt, and gazing in her face beheld how frost had turned her limbs to stone, then chafed and felt her stiffening hands, fearing that life was lost, then hoped that warmth once more her veins might melt, and raised her in his arms, and shouting crossed the threshold of his house, and in a bed laid her with coverlids and blankets spread, and called his serving maidens, by whose care, with kindly heat and such restoratives as women cunning in their art prepare, death's ice was thawed. Once more Ginevra lives, and from her heart back to her forehead fair and fingertips, those startled fugitives, the vital spirits, tingling with a flush like breaking dawn, in sweet confusion rush. Her faint eyes and her ears, yet half asleep, as in a dream, the kind warm room survey. She sees the flames upon the hearthstone leap, and hears the whispering maids, while pale and grey steals morning through the curtains folded deep around a bed where yet she never lay. And at the last, Where am I? From her lips, still as in murmurous dreams, soft breathing slips. Antonio at the low and tremulous cry knelt forward to the pillow where her head moved in unrest, and put the curtains by, and said, Dear love, take courage, fear hath fled with the dark night of infelicity. I am at hand to shield thee from all dread. Ask and command, I wait on thy behest. Light of my life, fear not, sweetheart, have rest. And she, still timid with a tender shame, said, My Antonio, take me, I am thine. think of mine honour and thine own fair fame. Then told him all her story, line by line, and bade him seek the coffin whence she came, and fix the lid firm on that marble shrine, that men might think she still lay sleeping there, secluded in death's dream from light and air. When this was done, Antonio's mother brought such meat as might her failing strength restore, and clothed her in fair silken raiment wrought with needlework from her own bridal store, and said, My daughter, thou must now take thought whether to seek thy plighted husband, or— Speech failed her here, but soft Ginevra spake, Not so. What love hath won, let true love take. I will not turn unto his home again, who sent me to the inhospitable tomb. Death endeth all, troth, fealty, joy, and pain. I am Antonio's treasure trove, with whom, if he be willing, I shall remain. Death hath released me from the dreadful doom of lifelong bondage to that man whose troth was but lip service and a lying oath. No sooner said than done. Their vows were spoken, their bridal rings exchanged, and kisses given, and faith confirmed by many a tender token. Love, strong as death, at odds with death had striven. Death, self-defeating, love's false bonds had broken. Love, loosed by death, had found his heart's true heaven. Thus, when their case was tried, the verdict carried, Antonio and Ginevra duly married. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Talented Man by Winthrop Mackworth Praed. Read for LibriVox.org by Ike Sherr. Letter from a lady in London to a lady in Lausanne. Dear Alice, you'll laugh when you know it. Last week, at the Duchess's ball, I danced with a clever young poet. You've heard of him? Tully St. Paul. Miss Jonquil was perfectly frantic. I wish you had seen Lady Anne. It really was very romantic. He is such a talented man. He came up from Brazen-Nose College, just caught, as they call it, this spring. And his head, love, is stuffed full of knowledge of every conceivable thing. Of science and logic he chatters, as fine and as fast as he can. Though I am no judge of such matters, I am sure he's a talented man. His stories and jests are delightful. Not stories or jests, dear, for you. The jests are exceedingly spiteful, the stories not always quite true. Perhaps to be kind and veracious may do pretty well in Lausanne, but it never would answer, good gracious, chez nous, in a talented man. He sneers, how my Alice would scold him at the bliss of a sigh or a tear. He laughed, only think, when I told him how we cried o'er Trevelyan last year. I vowed I was quite in a passion. I broke all the sticks of my fan. But sentiment's quite out of fashion, it seems, in a talented man. Lady Bab, who is terribly moral, has told me that Tully is vain, and apt, which is silly, to quarrel, and fond, which is sad, of champagne. I listened and doubted, dear Alice, for I saw when my lady began it was only the dowager's malice. She does hate a talented man. He's hideous, I own it. But fame, love, is all that these eyes can adore. He's lame, but Lord Byron was lame, love, and dumpy, but so is Tom Moore. Then his voice, such a voice, my sweet creature, it's like your Aunt Lucy's toucan. But oh, what's a tone or a feature when one's a talented man? My mother, you know, all the season has talked of Sir Geoffrey's estate. And truly, to do the full reason, he has been less horrid of late. But today, when we drive in the carriage, I'll tell her to lay down her plan. If ever I venture on marriage, it must be a talented man. P.S. I have found, on reflection, one fault in my friend, entre nous. Without it, he'd just be perfection. Poor fellow, he has not a sou. And so, when he comes in September to shoot with my uncle, Sir Dan, I've promised Mamma to remember he's only a talented man. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Tavern by Edna St. Vincent Millay, 1892 to 1950. Read for LibriVox.org by Lyra Scout. I'll keep a little tavern below the high hill's crest, wherein all gray-eyed people may sit them down and rest. There shall be plates a-plenty, and mugs to melt the chill of all the gray-eyed people who happen up the hill. There sound will sleep the traveller, and dream his journey's end, but I will rouse at midnight the falling fire to tend. 'Tis a curious fancy, but all the good I know was taught me out of two gray eyes a long time ago. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
United States of America by Harry Graham. Read for LibriVox.org by Tony Scheinman. United States of America. This is the country of the free, the cocktail and the 10-cent chew, where you're as good a man as me, and I'm a better man than you. O liberty, how free we make, freedom, what liberties we take. 'Tis here the startled tourist meets, mid clanging of 1,000 bells, the railways running through the streets, skyscraping flats and vast hotels, where rest on the resplendent floors the necessary cuspidors. And here you may encounter, too, the pauper immigrants in shoals, the Swede, the German, and the Jew, the Irishman who rules the polls, and is employed to keep the peace, a venal and corrupt police. They are so busy here, you know, they have no time at all for play. Each morning to their work they go, and stay there all the livelong day. Their dreams of happiness depend on making more than they can spend. The ladies of this land are all developed to a pitch sublime, some inches over 6 foot tall, with perfect figures all the time. For further notice of their looks, see Mr. Dana Gibson's books. And if they happen to possess sufficient balance at the bank, they have the chance of saying yes to needy foreigners of rank. The future dukes of all the earth are half American by birth. Moral: a dot combining cash with charms is worth 1,000 coats of arms. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Vas Doloris by Julian del Casal. Translated by William George Williams. Read for LibriVox.org by Winston Tharp. I come from the remote borders of the land of oblivion. My songs will not sound beneath your balconies. I am the singer of the broken sanctuaries. Artist, dreamer, sensitive and tender, my music is a voice of affirmation. I am like a winter twilight in love's garden. I love the fire of the sun. My delights are the flaming rose, the bleeding pink, and I love the white swans on the lakes and the blue clouds in the wind. I love the sad, for life is pain. I love your black half-opened eyes, fixed in an unknown direction where dead loves are forgotten. I know full well that love is sleep, and my soul sleepless. You are not to blame for my sorrow, you are a dream. I call you when I wake, and you do not come. You can come only as does death, silent and fatal. You are anxiety, no matter, come. My heart is strong. Shed your petals in my hands, faded rose. I knew then in my dreams that love is good, and today, impenitent, a rebel against love, I weep upon the lilies of your breast and kiss you on the forehead. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Wave by Louis Untermeyer. Read for LibriVox.org by Brian Fullen. March 2025, Plano, Texas. There was the sea again, the laughing sea, breathing its fresh and salty invitation, clapping its great green hands and calling me to pit my strength against its energy and match its vigor with my own elation. Impatiently it drummed upon the shore, and, having yearned for it a year or more, I whipped the clothing from my eager body, flinging aside my threadbare thoughts, the shoddy fears and lethargic fancies of a day heavy with subterfuge and the decay of sophistries that only cheat themselves. I heard the tide come racing down the sands, pounding a summons on the rocky shelves, a savage welcome in its vehement roar. I sprang out on the beach and slammed the door, as though to keep the humid world shut in. I felt the salt wind sniffing at my skin, the whitecaps beckoning me with gay commands, and, pulled along by unseen rescuing hands, I sprang into the water once more free. Something had snapped the harsh, invisible bands. It was the sea again, the laughing sea. Out past the lifelines where the sea grew calm I floated, dreaming on a watery breast of wonder with its secret unexpressed, and beauty singing its unwritten psalm. Its healing bathed me with the balm of rest. I dreamed, and then, shocked from my languid mood, I heard new rumblings threaten and increase. This deadening quiet was a false release. The clouds became an evil, black-winged brood. I must escape this torpitude of peace. I struck out swiftly toward the land, hand over hand, scooping at wastes of sea that flowed out of my reach, missing the silver line that showed the beach. I turned face downward as I tried a shorter stroke. The breakers flung me on my side and broke over me while the spume was churned. The tide had turned. Desperate now, I thrust my arms about in a sharp trudgeon till a burning pain ran through my ankles that kept plunging out. Harder I kicked, and slower, but in vain. The tide kept pulling, and I made no gain. The beach was empty, and my smothered shout fell on the thunders with no greater stir than leaves on warring waters. And the rain came with a mocking gentleness, a purr of protest at my struggles. Doubly dear though life was then, the fervor of it passed. The leaping radiance ebbed, and even fear no longer struck with its insistent spur. This frantic burst of power could not last. I felt my body slipping, and a giant roller started toward the land, sweeping the ocean with it as it came, and seized me with a swift and iron hand. I floundered in a world of cold green flame, and drank its icy hatred, heard my name under the thunder. I was ground and tossed in some malignant mill race. Light was lost. All I could see were hands, dark hands, a score of whirling tentacles that lifted, tore, and pulled me down again, and down, and down. I thought, is this the way that swimmers drown? Someone was lifting me, some others bore my limping body up the reeling shore, and voices coming out of nowhere cried, "That's what a fellow gets for being brave. The trouble is that there's a tricky tide. Old man, you had a pretty darn close shave." And how it happened I can never see. All I remember is a thundering wave that came and caught me in security, and in a breath, despairing of a softer remedy, forced me through war and death to rescue me, stinging my soft complacence into strife, sweeping me out of languor back to life. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
What is Love? By Robert Heath, read for LibriVox.org by Cavaet. 'Tis a child of fancies getting, brought up between hope and fear, fed with smiles grown by uniting, strong and so kept by desire. 'Tis a perpetual vestal fire, never dying, whose smoke like incense doth aspire, upwards flying. 'Tis a soft magnetic stone, attracting hearts by sympathy, binding up close two souls in one, both discoursing secretly. 'Tis the true Gordian knot that ties, yet ne'er unbinds, fixing thus two lovers' eyes as well as minds. 'Tis the sphere heavenly harmony, when two skilful hands do strike, and every sound expressively marries sweetly with the like. 'Tis the world's everlasting chain, that all things tied, and bid them, like the fixed wain, unmoved to bide. 'Tis nature's law inviolate, confirmed by mutual consent, where two dislike like love and hate, each the other's full content. 'Tis the caress of everything, the turtle dove, both birds and beasts do offering bring to mighty love. 'Tis the angel's joy, the god's delight, man's bliss. 'Tis all in all, without love nothing is. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Will by Ella Wheeler Wilcox, read for LibriVox.org by Roger Smith. Will. There is no chance, no destiny, no fate can circumvent or hinder or control the firm resolve of a determined soul. Gifts count for nothing, will alone is great. All things give way before it, soon or late. What obstacle can stay the mighty force of the sea-seeking river in its course, or cause the ascending orb of the day to wait? Each well-born soul must win what it deserves. With the full parade of luck, the fortunate is he whose earnest purpose never swerves, whose slightest actions or inactions serve the one great aim. Why, even death stands still, and waits an hour sometimes for such a will. End of recording. This recording is in the public domain.
Yet a Little Sleep by Robert F. Murray, read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. Beside the drowsy streams that creep within this island of repose, oh, let us rest from cares and woes, oh, let us fold our hands to sleep. Is it ignoble then to keep a while from where the rough wind blows, and all is strife, and no man knows what end awaits him on the deep? The voyager may rest a while, when rest invites, and yet may be neither a sluggard nor a craven. With strength renewed he quits the isle, and putting out again to sea, makes sail for his desired haven.
End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.